You got endorsement deals coming, you're on tour. There's so many different money coming in from every different what you raise. So you being 19, you're on the road. They bring somebody and say, okay, this is such and such, nice to meet you. They're going to be your accountant. And this is, you know what I mean? It's like a fast, everything is so fast.
And everybody.
Her walk is not an easy walk.
No.
And she carries a lot. She carries everybody. And at the time when I was doing Broadway, I was carrying everybody. And my life was so much like Celie's.
Clive Davis put Sean Combs in position. That's what Clive Davis does.
At 40, Fantasia at last validated what many had long dreaded. She claimed that after years of being exploited by the same system that destroyed Whitney Houston, the industry left her penniless and alone.
A lot of times when you come into this industry, you have people who say they're there for you, but a lot of times they're just there to get what they can get, or because money is involved.
And two strong men, Sean Diddy Combs and Clive Davis, were at the heart of it all.
They don't really care about you as a person and want to see, they don't think long run, they don't think future, it's just about right now.
Now that Diddy's federal prosecution has brought the whole business to justice, Fantasia collapse does not appear to be coincidental. It appears to be a pattern.
Dawn finished her testimony today. She claimed at one point that Diddy had hit Cassie with a skillet and said, quote, he said you could go missing, that we could die.
So how did it all occur and why did no one intervene? America adores Cinderella tales like Fantasia Barrino, a North Carolina single mother who left high school, lived, and dazzled the country with her American Idol voice.
You're going to Hollywood!
Yeah.
Congratulations.
She was famous at the age of 19, but the system that allowed her to succeed was one she did not comprehend, and no one had forewarned her of what was ahead. At the age of 26, Fantasia was no longer living the dream. She had a bottle of aspirin in her bedroom closet, ready to die.
Patient, allegedly, you took a fistful of aspirin and went in the closet in your bedroom?
A lot of times when you come into this industry, you have people who say they're there for you, but a lot of times they're just there to get what they can get, or because money is involved.
She did not strive to make it seem nice. She was not thinking about her daughter at the time. Her career was not on her mind. All she wanted was for the suffering to end, and the individuals who were there to keep her safe were gone as she turned to look around. Clive Davis can help with that, the titan in the industry who signed her, the same man who created Janis Joplin, Alicia Keys, and Whitney Houston. However, Clive's response to the question of how he prepares up-and-coming artists for stardom suddenly seems chilly. I don't get involved in their personal lives. That silence, it costs lives. Fantasia later said she didn't have a team that cared about her, only what she could earn. I wish someone had told me, don't buy that car, check your accountant, watch your money. She said everybody had their own self-interest. She was thrust into an adult industry as a teenager. Diddy, who is currently facing federal charges of intimidation and other offenses, was at the pinnacle of that system, training Clive Davis. In a horrifying testimony, former Danity Kane vocalist Don Richard claimed that Sean Diddy Combs had previously given a terrifying warning about the repercussions of disobedience. Richard, who became well known in the early 2000s under Combs' Bad Boy Records label, stated that the music mogul threatened to have individuals disappear if they disobeyed him or did not do as he said. Richard stated in her testimony on Friday, May 16th, that she took the remark to mean that people could die for disappointing or upsetting Combs. The architects now were Diddy and Clive. One of the voices that their machine ate up was Fantasia.
You have more money than we have, Fantasia.
You don't know that.
Okay.
A lot of artists that you see, they look like they have it. And we smile and we come out and we put on a good show. But in real life, some of them are struggling and we don't have it. I'm just now building myself back up. I lost everything twice.
Financial ruin was only one aspect of it. Fantasia claimed to have felt deserted. Everybody who started with me, they were gone. Nobody helped me clean it up. I had to do it by myself. I said, she said. The things we have heard about other musicians in Clive Davis's orbit are reflected in that loneliness and isolation. Dead, destitute, addicted, and lonely artists. Now that Diddy's name is associated with federal courts and his ties to Clive Davis are coming to light again, Fantasia Fantasia's worst period is being re-examined. Was she just another industry casualty? Was she among the fortunate few who survived to speak the truth? When Fantasia became renowned, she was not simply a young woman. She had no protection. At 19, she had no financial advisor, no industry mentor, no one to explain the contract she was signing, and no one to confide in. Since then, she has been direct about it.
You got endorsement deals coming, you're on tour. There's so many different money coming in from every different what you raise. So you being 19, you're on the road. They bring somebody and say, okay, this is such and such, nice to meet you. They're going to be your accountant. And this is, you know what I mean? It's like a fast, everything is so fast.
And everybody.
Her own father filed a defamation lawsuit against her for her memoir shortly after American Idol. Her first 2 albums were released by J Records, the label Clive Davis signed her to. One did well on the market, the second failed. The same individuals who had been grinning in board meetings and chambers suddenly began to vanish. What about the cash? Twice, not just once. It is a system of failure, not a bad year. It appears more and more that Fantasia was never intended to succeed in the long run. Not under Clive, not in a field that continues to exploit young, weak black women, then throw them out when they do not sell records or headlines. And it was her spirit, not just her money. Fantasia was not acting when she played Celie in The Color Purple. She was going through her own trauma again. To put things in perspective, Celie is a character who is silenced RD and abandoned by her father. Fantasia nearly declined when she was asked to reprise the role for the 2023 movie adaptation.
Her walk is not an easy walk.
No.
And she carries a lot. She carries everybody. And at the time when I was doing Broadway, I was carrying everybody. And my life was so much like Celie's.
It was not over the top. She claimed that she took the pain home with her every night when she performed Sally on Broadway in 2007. Taraji P. Henson was the only one who taught her how to act out of character. She was not merely playing a part. She was carrying the weight of years of unresolved pain, personal loss, and industry exploitation. And the more you examine it, the more it resembles Whitney Houston's experience. Both women were descended from gospel. Both were thrust into prominence at an early age. They were both connected to Clive Davis. Under strain, they both spiraled. One did not make it. So all of the people who began with me are gone, as Fantasia says. The statement is not a metaphor. That is the truth. She was among the few people who survived. The most agonizing question of all is raised by Diddy's current legal troubles, which are linked to individuals like Clive, young artists who passed away, ladies who disappeared from the public eye, or worse. Before they could share their experience, how many more were silenced? Fantasia Barrino made headlines for all the wrong reasons on August 9th, 2010. The silent tempest that had been brewing inside of her for years, however, was something that the headlines failed to portray. The label executives had left. The managers said nothing. There were no cameras. What remained was a woman sitting in a closet, gazing at her reflection while holding a bottle of Bayer and a bottle of sleeping tablets. I didn't care if I woke up, she said. I just wanted to go to sleep. And if I didn't wake up, I was okay with that. Fantasia had locked herself in a guest room 3 days prior. She was not eating. She was silent. She was shutting down, and no one took attention. Not her relatives, not her squad, not the individuals who had accompanied her on the red carpet, collected checks from her tours, or spat. Due to her claimed affair with a married man, she was being publicly shamed at the time. Outside her home, there were paparazzi. Every day, tabloids published articles, but there was more to the truth than that. The relationship was only a match. Long ago, the fire had been burning. Later on, Fantasia disclosed that she had sent farewell notes to all of her loved ones, to Zion, her daughter, to her younger brother, who had been experiencing disciplinary issues at school, to Teeny, her estranged brother, who was upset about money, to her mother, her manager, and her best friend. She made sure the notes would be found by placing them in a book. I asked everyone to leave. I went into my closet and I sat there. I looked in the mirror and I just sat for hours. She swallowed the pills. She meant it, and she discovered she had survived something she was not prepared to confront when she woke up in the hospital, sleepy, angry, and hooked up to IVs. Nearly instantly, the world learned. CNN, local news, and TMZ. The fact that her profession had grown so calculating in cleaning up these kinds of malfunctions, however, was something that most sources ignored. Similar to Whitney, similar to Michael, like a lot of other people, a plan to improve the public's perception was always in place, but the individual was never fixed. She had to go to outpatient therapy in order to be released from the hospital. Fantasia also said that she quit acting for the first time in years. I was in a room with CEOs and lawyers, and I realized they broke too. I wasn't the only one, but the pressure didn't stop. She was back in front of the camera in a matter of days. She was dropping her album. She was what the label depended on. The tour was reserved. She knew she could not afford to rest, even though they advised her to do so. No defense, not a bit of grace. The next dollar is just around the corner. The fact that Fantasia's lowest moment occurred while she was under the supervision and control of a system designed by Clive Davis and next to Diddy is no accident. The same Diddy is currently on trial at the federal level, which could bring additional influential figures into the public eye. Because of Fantasia's experiences, her personal lowest point was not the only one. It served as a warning, and at last, attention is being paid this time. Fantasia stopped chasing charts by the time she turned 40. Peace was what she sought, and she was talking fearlessly for the first time in years. She was not merely pushing a film on purple press tours and red carpets. She was taking back her identity. The same woman who had almost died while as Sally on Broadway was now announcing her survival to the world in that same role. It has nothing to do with a check, she replied. At first, she said no to the movie. Hell no, I said, because she was aware of what she would have to confront once more, the trauma, the sensation of invisibility. However, things were different this time. She had a group of people. She was a mother. She received counseling. At last, she was doing it as she wanted to. She was not scared to acknowledge the system's flaws for the first time in her career. She was not protected by the industry. She was not protected by the labels. However, she succeeded.
Now that I'm older and I'm wiser, I'm taking it in as all three.
All right, I love it.
Different pocket, different place.
She also shut it down when asked if this was a comeback. She was never gone. This is not a resurgence. It is a come-up. Fantasia did not give names. She did not have to. Her scars spoke for her. However, in 2025, with Diddy on trial and Clive Davis's name coming up again in discussions about death, exploitation, and manipulation in the music business, Fantasia's survival is more significant than ever because we are now aware of the warning flags. The stories have now been told to us. Whitney Houston did not make it out alive. Janis Joplin did not make it out alive. Numerous women who were associated with Clive, either professionally or contractually, failed to make it out. Fantasia also came very close to joining them, but she chose not to. They left her in a hole and she crawled out. She started over. She gained the ability to drive her own car, prepare her own meals, and handle her own finances. She did it because no one else was left to do it for her, not because she wanted to prove anything. The industry did not anticipate that part. With evasive remarks and hasty tributes, they hoped to justify yet another breakdown, overdose, or tragedy. Rather, Fantasia survived. She watched the equipment that almost killed her get dragged into federal court. She witnessed the mentors and moguls who once looked impenetrable finally get exposed. She observed that a new generation began to inquire about contracts, power, and survival. She does not require retribution. She does not have to mention Clive or Diddy. Her life serves as evidence. Her fight, her faith, and her music. Everything says more than the industry ever could. Therefore, when she exclaims, "To God be the praise," she is speaking for everyone who missed it, not just for herself. Because she did this time,